How are you? Welcome. I can't even see from the steamer. Today I want to cook for you dishes from the courts of Peking. People are always asking me, what is your favorite meal in the whole world? And it really depends on what I had for dinner the night before. But I do think the Chinese have got to be the most efficient and clever cooks in the world. And the courts of Peking in the old days, a couple of dynasties back, you see, turned out dishes that were so complicated and so flamboyant that you and I have just got to share them. I am cooking for you today a Peking duck, and he's drying right now. He's been hanging here for about 8 hours. I'll turn off the fan so we can talk. It's a very complicated dish, but with a little care and a little time in your own home, you can do it. And let me show you how. It's a great thing for Peking duck, Beijing duck, you see? Sounds like you're calling for him, doesn't it? But you're not. There, all right, let's get a duck in. Let me show you, first of all, how to prepare the duck. You must sew him up carefully. In Chinatown, in San Francisco, or New York, or Chicago, they would never buy a duck like this. They buy a duck that's whole, but the duck that you and I buy has been cut viciously. So we have to sew him up carefully, and I'll show you what I mean. Here you have, you see, the duck himself has to be sewn up. I've started with the neck, and I very carefully threaded in. Let me get this so you can see it. There he is. I've put in needles. You see, you buy the duck needles or chicken needles, turkey needles, whatever they call them. Put them through and then sew him up very, very carefully. I'll show you how to do this in a minute. But he must be airtight. And then you do the same with the other end, with the rear end of the duck. You see, we're gonna fill him up with a lovely sauce, which I'll prepare for you now, in an effort to make a very complicated, involved, and lovely dish called Peking duck. Very, very fun. You know, in China, there are restaurants in Beijing that argue about who's the best duck cooker in the whole country. And I'm not sure how the argument goes, but they have restaurants called Little Duck and Big Duck and Medium Duck. And you can go to these places and get in on the argument. I'd love to do it. All right, in our wok then, to prepare the sauce, we're going to add a chunk of orange peel. Just a bit of orange peel right off the old slicer here. Take the peel right off the orange and throw them in the wok. And remember, now heat your wok first, or your frying pan. You don't need a wok for this. Heat your frying pan first before you put in any oil. Mine's already hot. So in goes a bit of peanut oil. There we are. And some orange peel. Sounds like a strange recipe, doesn't it? I want a couple of green onions, just chopped up. These are going to go into the heart of the duck, into the center of the duck, you see, so they don't have to look one way or the other. Doesn't matter. In they go. Now we're going to saute that for just a very, very short time. And I think we'll add a couple cloves of garlic too. And the quickest way that you can clean garlic is to simply lay it down on your board, you see. Just lay it down on the board, and instead of chop, 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 we're going to lay a cleaver on top of it and just go ka-wonk, ka-wonk. And it's now smashed and ready, you see. And in it goes. It's hardly going to kill you in terms of wasting your time, is it? Huh? Works out well. All right, what else do we need? We're going to saute that just for a minute here. Saute it, chow, stir fry. That's what the term chow means. See, it means that it's been fried at very high heat for a very short time. Now then, we're going to add to that about a half teaspoon of salt. That quickly. And we're going to add a couple teaspoons of sugar. And I want you to use brown sugar. That's much more typical of the kind of sugar that they use in China for cooking. It's almost a raw sugar. So brown sugar comes pretty close to that for us. And we want some Maincy. And Maincy may be hard for you to find. If you can't find it, don't worry about it. But it's sometimes called soybean jam or soybean condiment. It's a very strange bit of soybean that's left over on the bottom of the vat after you've made soy sauce. And they add a little garlic to it, and it becomes a delicious condiment. It's almost a meat replacement in China. Very, very good. All right, we'll keep chowing away here till we get our sauce all ready to go. I love to do this kind of cooking. I think the Chinese are so ingenious, but it's you know, you don't do this in a hurry. The Chinese spend more time anticipating and preparing for a meal than any culture in the world. And in the courts of Peking, where they made Mandarin cooking, that is to say, high class. And that's all the term Mandarin means. It means that it's very involved, it's very aristocratic. So you could have Mandarin in most communities in China. You see, high class or aristocratic cooking. But most of the royalty hung around Peking for many dynasties. So when they say Mandarin cooking on a restaurant, what they generally mean is Old Peking, Old Beijing, excuse me if you're Chinese. That's the way it's pronounced now. Beijing, Beijing, all right? So, well, I continue to cook in our wok because we're anticipating one of those dishes that takes a long time to prepare. And now we're going to add half a cup of hoisin sauce. You can buy this in any supermarket in our time. Isn't it great that the world is finally available to you through a supermarket? It's just terrific. You can buy anything from any place you want. That was not true even 10 years ago. Half a cup of hoisin sauce, which is a very heavy, sweet, peppery barbecue kind of sauce. And we want a couple tablespoons of soy, and I'm using a light soy. I don't want something too full of sugar or too full of salt because I can't control the salt and sugar that way. You see? All right, now we'll let that simmer for a bit. I need about a half a cup of chicken stock. I'll give you the recipe for the sauce again, and then the rest of the dish will be easy. Half a cup of chicken stock. Let that simmer for just a few minutes. And we are exactly half a cup. Terrific. And we're ready to go. Let me give you the recipe for this sauce again, which is going to go in the belly of our Peking duck. I have a half of orange peel, and I sauteed that with a couple of green onions and a clove of garlic. Then I added a half a teaspoon of salt, a couple teaspoons of sugar, and I used brown sugar, remember? You want that rather than the old white, you see? It has a lot more flavor. A couple tablespoons of Maincy or soybean jam or soybean condiment, depending which name you can find it under. And it doesn't matter if you omit it, it'll be all right. Half a cup of hoisin, that you should not omit. And 2 tablespoons of soy. Sauteed that for a bit, added a bit of chicken broth, about half a cup, and we're set. We're ready to pour it in the old bird. I would let that cool under normal circumstances, but you and I don't have time for that nonsense today, so we're not going to worry about it. Let's see here. Find a spot for everything. Now, I need a holder for my bird. Here's the old duck. I'm going to put him in a colander. It's easier that way. And I'll pour the sauce in using a ladle of some sort. Use any kind you want. Turn off the heat, and we'll just put the sauce into the. You notice I've already gone so far as to seal up part of the duck. You see, so it will not take me quite as long this way. In he goes. You know, I'm doing this show today for my son Channing, the duck man. When Channing was a baby, and I would go to San Francisco on business, I would bring him back a duck from one of the shops on Grant Street or Stockton, and Channing would stand at the airport just as a tiny child and expect that duck to get off the plane with me. And of course the old duck always did, wrapped up in a big plastic sack, and then Channing and I would go home and have duck for dinner, and he was just in heaven. And it should be. That should be the way things are shared among your friends and your family. It should be a great deal of fun, and it is. Okay, you see what I've done? I put the sauce in. Now then, I'm going to fold in the flap of the duck. Look at the mess I'm making. Don't worry about it. Fold in the tail, and if it doesn't break on you, well, you break it yourself. Just tuck it right in there, you see. I'm going to have to break this one. He's a toughie. There he goes. Now we're going to seal him up. He's awfully warm here. If he were ice cold, it'd be a little bit easier to operate with, but don't worry about him. We're going to use some needles to finish the job here. There we go. By the way, I salted this duck before I began sewing him up so that the skin would be crunchy and dry. I put in quite a bit of salt, but the salt will run off the duck. You know what I mean? There we are. Just seal him up, and I'm folding over the skin as I go along here. That is to say, I'm grabbing a piece of skin and folding it under, thusly, so that I'm going through 2 layers on each side. You got me? I'm going through 2 layers on each side. Like so. Try and avoid your finger. Owie! It hurts. It hurts. It's not a very intelligent way to sew up a duck if you keep poking yourself. And this dish, before we're done today, you're going to say, this time Smith is crazy. He's gone over the edge because this takes a long, long time to cook a duck this way. But when you finally come to the table, when you finally have that great taste, that big moment, you see, when everyone in the family says, oh my God, you've done it, then it's worth it, isn't it? That's why I cook. I cook because I have an ego the size of a moving van, and I want everyone to be happy and joyful when we finally eat together, and to tell me that I'm marvelous. I love it. I just love it. Sit up, fella. One more here, and then we're going to, maybe two more. Then we're going to thread him up. Now I'll show you how to sew him. Then he's going to go into a vat of honey water. But first we're going to cause the skin to separate from the rest of the body. And wait till you see how I'm going to do that. Just wait till you see, because you're going to have to do it too. Once your junior high school son sees you do this, it's all over. He's going to want you to make it often. All right, out of the rack and onto a towel or something. You can hold him here. I'm going to use my big white towel that I stole from my bathroom here. You see, he should not be leaking. You remember I put sauce in him? Should not be leaking from the neck. He's sewn up very carefully. It takes some time to do this, and we'll hope that by the time we finish with him, he'll not be leaking from the opposite end. There we go. Some thread. Notice I'm using some very strong string, but I'm going to dip it in water first, because that way, when the string is tied, it's much less likely to slip on you if the string is wet. Okay, duck, here it is. This is our big moment together, friend. Now begin thusly, you see? And we're going to throw the string through the loop twice rather than just once, because it's much more likely to hold on. That's called the old A&P knot. It was used in the days when supermarkets used to put your groceries in boxes, and the fellows would put up the flaps on the side of a box and they'd tie them with the old A&P knot, because that meant you didn't have to have someone come and hold on to the, put your finger here, that sort of thing. It would hold by itself. Double loop and it'll work. I think that's called a double granny or something. No, that's different. That's not it at all. Just keep this up until you can tie the old bird into place. It's a marvelous process, and it's very time consuming. But the result is worth it, because a duck in a restaurant will cost you about $25 or $30 prepared this way. And the price is fair. I've missed a needle here. There he is. The price is fair at that kind of market, you see? There he goes. Okay. At $30 or a dinner for one person, that's a little much, I think. And you and I can do it at home for much less money and have all the fun of celebrating Beijing cooking. Okay, one more here. We'll come clear down to the end and tie him up, and then we're going to pump him up. If you can believe this, we're going to pump this rascal up with a bicycle pump, because it'll separate the skin from the body. In the old days in China, they used to wrap up the bird, as I have just done this, you see, tie him up carefully, and then they had a little child come in, and he would put a bamboo reed underneath the duck and begin blowing on it, and it was a terrible thing to do to the poor child, because he would become, mentally deficient after a while. It was tough on the old crowd, you see. Crazy way to go, but in the old days, in a lot of cultures, we did very strange things. Very strange things indeed. There we go. Getting them all tied up here. All these needles look like a surgeon run amok, don't they? Acupuncture duck is what this is. Okay, well, you get the point. Let me show you how to blow him up. Ralph, I'm going to need some help, if you would. Okay. If you seal him up properly, I'm just going to hold on to him, because I don't have time to sew this rascal in the short time we have. This is Ralph, who's the guy that you wonder about. Who helped Smith with all this stuff? Well, this is the man. He's good at it. Okay, Ralph, let her rip. Now watch what happens. You're going to hear horrible noises from this bird. Look at the skin separating, you see? You see, isn't that marvelous? Look at him. Isn't that incredible? You see? The skin separates from the whole bird, and if you haven't, he's going to collapse now if I take my hand off, because that hole has not been sealed up properly yet. I haven't finished my sewing job. Did you see what happens? Okay, the skin has been separated. Thanks, Ralph. Tie him up in the neck again so that the air doesn't come out, and then we're going to make a stretcher for him, and we're going to put him in a pot of boiling honey water, about 6 quarts of water, and 6 tablespoons of honey, and in he goes. And we're going to blanch him very, very quickly in honey water, so that he is the fat comes out of the skin and is replaced by honey. That's how you get that golden brown crunchiness on a Peking duck. See what's happening to his skin now? Look at him. Isn't he gorgeous? Oh, this is terrific. I don't know whether to name this rascal or what we should do with him, but roll him around there 5 or 6 times. And at the end of that time, we'll take him out. You can do that a little bit longer than I did, you understand. Keep that old bath towel handy. You're going to need it. And roll him on his back. And I'm going to tie underneath his wing You didn't know what you were getting into today, did you, huh? When they tie underneath his wing another piece of very narrowly cut fabric, you see, so that we can hang him up. We don't want to tear the skin or tear the duck at all, so just put a knot here behind him, underneath the wings. You see what I've done? What I'm doing is to tie the duck up like this. You understand? The cloth goes in behind him so that he doesn't rip the skin when he's hanging. Okay, now we can hang him up. He's probably going to leak out the bottom here a bit. No, he looks pretty good. Now hang him up to dry, just as I've done this other one, you see? There he is. One Peking duck. I have a plate underneath him. You turn on the old fan and let him dry for about 8 hours this way. 8 hours. And when he's done, the skin, you see, the skin is almost, it's almost crackly. And you take him down and put him on a baking pan. I'll show you. I have one in the oven here. Let's take a look at him. I don't know the name of this one either, but he's gorgeous. Where do I put all these towels today? There we are. All right, one duck ready to go. I'm going to shut the oven off. He's just finishing. Look at him. Look at him. How are you, friend? The skin is what you eat. Ouch, that's hot. We'll let him sit for a minute while I make some pancakes now. This is one of the most flamboyant, glorious dishes I know of in the whole world. He's been in there for about an hour and 20 minutes. He was about a 4.5-pound duck. You want to cook him at 425 degrees for the first half an hour. But the total cooking time, now pay attention, the total cooking time is 18 minutes per pound. So since this duck was about 4.5 pounds, we cooked him for an hour and 20 minutes. That is to say, 4.5 times 18, right? We get an hour and 20 minutes, but the first half hour of that time, we cooked him at 425. Then we turned him down to 350 and finished out the total time of an hour and 20 minutes. Don't overcook him, all right? And the skin should be crunchy and gorgeous. Now let's make some Peking pancakes. I'm going to use a cheater's method. And my cheater's method is, rather than roll my own, I'm going to go to the supermarket and buy some tortillas, wheat tortillas, and I'm going to brush them with sesame oil just on one side and slap a pair together. You got that? Just the bottom one is brushed with oil. Then you put another one on the top of the stack here and brush one with oil and put them together in pairs like this, you see. We'll do half a dozen this way. Very simple, very quick. And we'll pop them into a steamer. And my steamer is already roaring along here. And these will heat up in just nothing flat. Very, very quick. In units of 2. Pairs in your steamer. Pairs of pancakes. Whoops, I did something wrong here. Here he is. I tell you to do them in pairs and then I don't. There, now they're correct. See, the oil keeps them from sticking together and it also flavors them. Now, let me get rid of my kettle and we'll go on to some other dishes here. How's the old pan? It won't take long. Then we'll taste the duck, huh? I want to show you another flamboyant dish. Get my wok going. There's a dish in China of shrimp and gin, and it's very popular among the Peking peoples, though it was not what we call gin, but a very, very strong, strong wine. Very close to benzene, to tell you the truth. If you drink it straight, you know, we may never see you again. It's murderous stuff, but it's great. It's just great cooking. So I'm going to put on a wok. Remember the rule, get your wok hot before you put the oil in. Got it? The old Chinese rule is simple. Hot wok, cold oil, foods won't stick. Get the pan hot first, then put in the oil, and you're not going to burn the oil that way, see, because you throw the food in right away. Our normal method is to heat the frying pan up along with the oil, and by the time the pan hots, the oil's burned, everything sticks, and we think we're stupid. You're not stupid. Don't burn the oil. Hot wok, cold oil, foods won't stick. And by the way, if you're cooking on electricity and you're using a wok, don't worry about it. It's perfectly all right. Simply leave your heat on absolutely high all the time and move the wok off and on the burner in order to control the heat. Don't try and turn the thermostat down because, you know, it goes so slow to cool and so slow to get hot. It's not like gas. So just leave the burner on full bore and control your heat by moving the wok off and on. Understand me? All right. Now, after that long tirade, my wok's hot enough. So I'll put in a little peanut oil. And I have some lovely shrimp with the shell on. They're just gorgeous things. I'm going to throw them in the old wok and let them cook very quickly. And our recipe is very, very simple. I want to add a bit of salt. Just put in a little bit. The salt's going to come off. Don't feel bad. That wasn't too much salt. It's all right. A little bit of salt. I'm going to put in a few green onions here. A couple will do. There we go. Just throw them right in. This is a marvelous dish from Peking. Come on, pan, keep cooking there. And we also want to add a bit of garlic. Remember how to clean your garlic in a hurry. Just a couple cloves of garlic and put the old cleaver on it. Give it a go. And we're into the pan. There. I want you to be frugal in your time as well as in your food products, right? And some ginger. And remember, ginger is just basic to Chinese cuisine. It comes in a big hand or fingers. Fresh ginger is available in most supermarkets in our time. Ooh, I just got some in my eye. That's terrific. Don't do that. Smells good, but it's tough on the old eye. There we are. I better toss these shrimp, huh? All right. And I'm going to add just a pinch of soy, of light soy. Remember now, I'm talking about light, meaning that it's not black. You see the color of this? It's a very light soy. It doesn't have a lot of mud in it, a lot of caramel coloring. Just a smidgen here. We'll toss our shrimp about. They'll change their color now. There we go. And while they're cooking, take just a minute. We haven't put the gin in yet, remember? While these are cooking, I think it's time to check out the old duck. Let's bring him from the oven. And I think everyone in the family should stand when he comes to the table. Name him if you wish. That's all right. I just oiled my rack. Did you notice? I just have him sitting right on the rack here. I just oiled the rack so he wouldn't stick viciously because I wanted him to have heat all the way around. And he stuck his arm underneath the rack and he doesn't want to come out. Maybe he's having a better time in there than I thought. Here he is. One Peking duck. $30 a plate, kiddo. You and I can afford to cook one of these ourselves. Let me wipe my hands off here and I'll show you how he's served. In the traditional restaurant, the duck is served thusly. A pancake is removed from the steamer, put on your plate, and the skin of the duck is sliced right off the top. That's the very best part, you see? And it's very, ouch, heavenly. Just take a bit off. Whew. In the old days, you know, the duck was taken back to the kitchen after this point, and then was brought to you again in soup. Put a bit of the duck skin on the pancake, and perhaps a little bit of green onion. I like some green onion. And a tiny smidgen of Hoisin, of the Hoisin sauce. It's called duck sauce. Of course, it is not a duck sauce itself, but it's commonly used on duck. There it is. Want to see how that goes? I do. You roll him up. Okay? You roll him up and he's ready now to be eaten. And I'll tell you what I think. I haven't had this for 2 years. Now, this is a new career for me, teaching you to cook and you teaching me how to eat, you see. And there are times when I really feel frustrated, but I can't say, come on, sit down, sit down, sit down. You've got to try this. It is heaven. It is absolutely rich. You see, the flavor of the duck is concentrated into the skin. And that's why the Peking cook, the Beijing cook, will work for days and days and days to come up with something so gorgeous. It's worth his time. Let me put this one out here for you. One Peking duck, Beijing duck. And don't forget the pancakes. That adds to the color and the flavor of the whole work. The shrimp are about ready here. Oh, boy. Whoops. I saw one jump out. Did you see him? Lost him. Well, those are the breaks. Keep your pan on high. Remember, that's important to what's going on here. There we go. Now then, I want to add a bit of gin. Gin is a marvelous flavoring for this dish. I learned this from a fellow in San Francisco by the name of Johnny Can, who used to run, he's dead now, but he ran Johnny Can's restaurant in San Francisco. See, throw in a bit of gin and slam the old lid on. Toss it about, slam the lid on, and we have created for ourselves two marvelous, marvelous dishes. I have one more for you. You're going to wonder about all the alcohol I'm using today, but please remember that alcohol cooks out of the food. It's all right. It's all right, but in the old days in Peking, they did a lot of flamboyant things for the royalty. Of course, the lower class, you know, they ate the scraps. But look at this one. I have a strange one for you here. It's a drunk chicken. That's the truth. And I think he really is. I put him in a bit of broth, chicken broth, you see, and simmered him with a bit of ginger, green onion. Here he comes. Come on out of there, you rascal. Bit of ginger, green onion, chicken broth, and 2 cups of whiskey. That's why he's called drunk. and he's absolutely marvelous. Just superb. So we have 2 bird dishes for you today, and 1 shrimp dish coming out now, as we're attempting to celebrate a culture that we could probably say that the Chinese were the wisest at using what was at hand. But they were also the wisest in terms of making very, very complicated things. The style that we call Mandarin now, you remember, doesn't apply to any particular school in China. It applies to aristocratic cooking. But generally, it was hooked up with Peking. Let me get a fish bowl here. When you serve the shrimp dish, grab a fish bowl. In China, the fish was a symbol of great plenteousness. And this is a carp from the China Sea. And I've worn a carp around my neck here for, all the years I've been doing these shows. This is from my dear Chinese friend, Mrs. Young in San Francisco. It's a beautiful thing. 300-year-old piece of Chinese jade, and it's a carp. Why a carp? Isn't that a dumpy old fish? Listen, hundreds of years ago, thousands of years ago, the Chinese were the very first to put fish outside of the window in a tank so that when you threw the garbage out the window, it would land in the tank, the carp would eat it up, and then later on you would eat the carp, you see? They knew what they were doing, I promise. And the shrimp is done, and it goes into our fish dish, which is a sign of luxury and abundance, a big net full of fish, you see? And we can bring before our family 3 very expensive, very flamboyant, rather elaborate Chinese dishes, all from the city of Beijing, called Mandarin only because it was high class. I have for you a Beijing duck with pancakes. We have a drunk chicken, a beautiful and he's terribly drunk, and some shrimp in gin and salt. That's it for Beijing and the Frugal Gourmet for today. This is Jeff Smith. I'm glad we could be together. Until I see you again, I bid you peace. Eat well. Bye-bye.